Hello to those of you who are here. We will get started in a bit. Jeff and whoever, Ling and Alex, I'm moderating this session. So let's get figured out do you have a slideshow or something to share?
Yeah, good, Nicole. Thanks for being here. Yes, we've got a, are we going to be sharing the screen or?
Yeah, you can. Do you have something to share?
Yes.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, I'll need permission, and
Right.
Doug will also need permission as a
Okay.
co-host.
Okay. It looks like Doug is just getting into the room here shortly, so I will add you both as co-host. Doug, I see you just arrived, and I'm going to make you a co-host as well. I'm moderating this session, so
We're
I can
also going to have, let's see, Ling and Alex, if they need to be co-hosts as well. They'll be sharing screens.
They will be sharing their screen?
I'm here as well, yeah.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Yep, I can do that too. Okay, I will go ahead and stop sharing. So Jeff or whoever wants to share their screen first, you can go ahead and get that set up.
Cool.
And this session is going to go until 3:50, and we do have to end rather promptly, so just be mindful of that.
Gotcha.
And I can also sort of I know there's a bunch of you, but I can kind of monitor the chat unless you want me to, or otherwise if you want to monitor it yourselves, that's okay too.
Sure, that'd be good.
Oh, I thought I did make you co-host, Doug. Hold on.
You might have. I just didn't see it on the list there.
Yeah, you're set to co-host, so
Awesome. Thank you much.
Fine. And at the very end, I do have a survey that I'm going to post in the chat and encourage folks to fill out a feedback form. So I may interrupt towards the very end for that.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Yeah, I'll let you moderate and just let us know.
Okay.
When to stop. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll prompt you at 3 to begin.
Great, thanks.
Okay, it's about 3 o'clock. Welcome everyone to our afternoon session on H5P, brought to you by the wonderful folks in my department at Regis University in the Instructional Design and Technology department. We have a couple of folks from the department that are going to be presenting this today. So I'm going to hand it over to Jeff, and I'll allow you all to introduce yourselves and get started.
Thanks, Nicole. Welcome, everybody. I cannot believe how many people we have here today. I was wondering if we'd have anybody this late in the day, and everybody's probably making chocolate chip cookies along with doing other things besides going to the conference. So it is really great to have everyone here. Hopefully you're staying healthy and you have everything that you need during this rather odd time that we're going through. But welcome. We are going to be talking today about something called H5P, and it's something that was brought to Regis about a year ago, well, less than a year ago, but we have had a lot of fun with it. It's a way for a quick creation of interactive content, and we're hoping to show you some of the things that we have done with it, as far as we're going to be talking about the integration of the H5P into our website and some other things. But first of all, let's talk about who the presenters are. We're going to be having a virtual Heidi Blair today, who's the ID&T director. She couldn't be with us, but she did record a segment on her use of H5P at her former institution, Griffith University in Australia, and how they implemented and how they are using it. And we also have with us Ling Thompson, who's an instructional designer, and Doug Emmerich, an instructional technologist, Alex Benedict, another instructional technologist, and I'll be adding a few things here myself. I'm Jeff Getchell. I'm another instructional technologist in the, as Nicole was saying, the Instructional Design and Technology department. So very quickly, this is going to be very informal, so please feel free to either send your questions via chat to Nicole, or I'm not sure if you have audio capability. If you do, chime in. This is going to be an informal discussion about how we use H5P here at ID&T and Regis. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of the history. We're going to be talking about, Alex is going to be introducing how H5P got its start. In other words, when the project was actually handed off by Heidi to Alex, what was he going to do? How was he going to implement this into Regis? We're going to be actually creating a simple H5P object just to show you how easy it is to create the object and then actually integrate it into a course. Then we're going to be showing a lot of examples of objects, both those that are being actively used in courses. Ling's going to be showing us how to some of the amazing things that she's been doing with this. And then also we're going to have Doug show some other H5P objects that are not actively being used, but that we just wanted to take a look, the folks at ID&T wanted to just play around and see how easy it was to not only create the objects, but also integrate them into course shells. And we've had some very, very good results. So Doug is going to be showing us that. And then we also want to just have a general conversation based on time, sort of a general conversation about some of the lessons learned at Regis and how we might be able to use, you might be able to use those at your own institutions to implement H5P itself. So just to get started here as far as H5P. H5P, for those of you that are not aware, it's short for HTML5 package. It's nothing more than a series. I think there's about 43 different tools that can be created and embedded into courses. It's set up for integration into, let's see, D2L, Blackboard, Canvas, and I believe Moodle. It was actually created back in 2013. This is one of these MIT things. They're coming up with the coolest stuff, but they developed it, and then it's a open source license by MIT that anybody can use. Heads up, if you're running ahead of me and are Googling this, you're going to come up with two websites. One is h5p.org, one is h5p.com. The difference is org is the freebie. That allows you to play around with some of the various objects and to get a feel for if something that you want to look into further. The .com is the paid version. Very closely associated, but they have hosting and some other things, but it is paid. As I mentioned, it supports multiple platforms. WordPress is the one that we use. It also supports Moodle integrations. And that's it. So let's get into some of the background. Doug, I'm going to hand this off to you. And
Right.
If you wouldn't mind playing Heidi's video to show what we've got.
Okay. See a lot of food discussion in the chat, and hopefully this will be a little food for thought. Probably not very nourishing, but hopefully interesting.
Doug, I'm not hearing audio.
You're not hearing audio, okay.
Let's
Should
see.
we turn on the share audio? Okay, I have computer. Looks like computer sound set.
Sometimes you have to set it when you're sharing it. So if you stop sharing and look for that checkbox in the lower left-hand corner, it says share computer sound.
Okay, have pause stop audio. Technical glitch. All right, let me look at see if we can do this with share again. Yeah, it says share computer sound is checked, so we'll take another run at it.
Suspense is
Welcome
killing
to
me.
my video supporting active learning and
Coming through now?
interactivity in online
Yes.
courses with H5P. I'm Heidi Blair, the Director of Instructional Design and Technology at Regis University. I'm going to share with you my experience with H5P adoption and talking about supporting active learning and interactivity, online instructor and learner needs, tool selection, as well as implementation strategies. My experience with implementing H5P begins at Griffith University in Brisbane, Australia. It was there I served prior to coming to Regis University in June of 2019. At that time, the provost had an active learning initiative, and we were looking for tools that we could use both within our department, a central learning and teaching unit, as well as one that could be used by the colleges themselves and the faculty. We were looking for a tool that would help us increase active learning and interactivity. By active learning, we talked about Prince's definition, and we're really looking at a tool that could help us create learning objects that promoted active learning. We also looked at Moore's types of interaction, and we knew we were really focusing on a tool that would help with interaction with content. When trying to determine what type of tool we needed, we had to first determine the type of needs that we were trying to meet with these interactive and active learning objects. So we talked to instructors, we talked with learners, and really identified what was important to us, what was important to them, and wanted to find a tool that faculty could use themselves to create these interactive learning experiences, and that they would feel confident that if they created these experiences, it would actually provide active learning as well. With budgets tight, we needed a tool that was affordable and scalable. With H5P, it is free. There is a free version. You can also pay for deeper integration into your LMS. At the time at Griffith University, the free tool was particularly attractive to us. We also looked to see there's quite a community built around H5P. There was actually a users group in Australia, and some of our educational designers went to a session, a conference that they were holding. So there was this community of users, a very collaborative sense among those that were creating it and that were using it. We found this attractive, as well as being able to make it available to faculty and educational designers. So therefore we chose to go with H5P for the creation of these learning objects that both brought about active learning through interactivity. Having just experienced a very large enterprise-wide implementation of another tool, we chose to take a different route with implementing H5P. We decided to take small bites and have those small wins. And that actually proved quite fruitful, because we built a community of developers among instructional technologists and instructional designers that then enabled them to build the confidence so that they could support faculty in them creating. Well, in June of 2019, I was no longer in Australia at Griffith University. I had decided to come back to the States, and I had the pleasure of joining the team, some of whom you're meeting today, at Regis University. Regis is a much smaller university, 3 campuses with 3 colleges, 12,000 students, but a student population that is quite successful upon their graduation. Our online courses, as everybody's online courses, need to keep up with the times, and we were looking for ways that we might make them more contemporary. I mentioned the implementation of H5P at Brisbane at Griffith University, and we began to take a look at that to see if it's going to meet the needs of this new context. This is just one person's perspective on the implementation of H5P that is happening around the globe. I hope you've understood a little bit about why we looked for it at Griffith. We wanted to support active learning and interactivity within our online courses and blended courses, that we really needed to pay attention to the needs of our online instructors and learners. We needed to build the instructors' capacity, and we needed to engage our learners. Tool selection can be overwhelming. We looked at a variety of tools, and we found that this was one that we could work with. In implementation, we decided to go slow. These same points hold true for Regis as they did for Griffith University. If you have any questions about either implementation, please let me know. Here is my email. I'd be glad to chat with you at any time. Thank you.
Back to you, Jeff.
Jeff, you're on mute.
My apologies. I love the technologies. Heidi has brought an amazing assortment of tools and other ideas that we can use here at ID&T, and it's fun to get the different perspectives of somebody that's not only been from a different institution but an international institution. So from that, let me get back to the session. So Heidi gave us a perspective on what they did at Griffith, but when she gave us the idea of, you know, what and how can we use this here at Regis, she handed the project primarily off to Alex Benedict, who's our senior instructional technologist over here, just to give us a perspective on what he went through. Alex, if you wouldn't mind telling us what you went through to implement the project and bring it to the ID&T and Regis.
Okay, hi everybody, welcome. A little bit of background on me. My role at Regis for many years was to build a lot of the learning interactions that went into our learning environment. And originally I started out building mostly with Flash and JavaScript and HTML. But once Flash died, there wasn't really a great all-encompassing package for building a ton of different types of learning objects. And so when I heard about this project, it sounded like something that was right up our alley for what we were trying to do. So I looked at it, and there were a few different types of implementations. Jeff mentioned a few on h5p.com. You can use there, you can build your own objects and get your own embed codes, and you can store those objects there. But we wanted a little bit more personal approach at Regis. So we decided to look at some of the systems that we had. Our learning management system, we used D2L Brightspace. And at the time, they didn't have a fully integrated LTI. Their only integration that you could do, you'd had to put H5P on a separate content management system called Drupal and then integrate it into world class. We weren't quite ready to do that. We were going to go live with the website, and our website was using WordPress as its platform. And we decided to go ahead and use the WordPress plugin for H5P, and it's been great. If you want, I can go ahead and show you a little bit of what the back end looks like when using and building some of those objects. Jeff, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should have access, Alex.
Okay. So if everybody can see my screen.
Yeah, it's showing.
It is showing?
Yes. Great.
So this is the back end of WordPress, and this is for idntregis.org. We use WordPress as our content management system, and it's been really super effective. And one of the benefits of WordPress is the vast community that's out there that helps you with your projects. And H5P's plugin has a ton of different, it has a real community built around it. So getting it up and running wasn't too problematic. You do have to have a fairly recent install of WordPress. You can't have a super old version of WordPress and get this to work, but I think anything within the last couple of years seems to work pretty well. But if you open it up, it'll add a different menu item in your WordPress. So here you'll see H5P content. And this is all the different content objects that people have created and the type of object that it is. So we've got a lot of audio, dictation, accordions, hotspots, those different types of objects. And the way to do it, would you just go ahead and click on Add New. It comes up with the array of different types of objects. And I think some of the other developers are going to show you how to build some of these objects. But this is the integration into it, the WordPress integration. A lot of the LMSs do have really solid LTI integrations. And essentially what that LTI integration is iframing this tool in particular this entire choice selection system right into a page of your content management system. As Heidi said in her video before, we're taking small chunks. So for right now, we have it integrated into WordPress and we're using embeds into our content instead of the LTI integration. But the next chunk that we will bite off will be that LTI integration into our learning management system. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and kick it back over to you, Jeff. But if anybody has any questions for me, please feel free, and I'll answer anything that I can in the text fields as well, in the chat area rather.
Thank you, Alex. So I'm going to, next, we're going to get into the fun stuff now. We're going to take a look at, let's see if I can find the proper screen I can show you. Let's see. Hang on just a second. Find the proper screen. Don't you just love technology? Okay, so now let me share this screen. Now the screen that you're seeing, hopefully that you're seeing, is the same one that Alex was just showing, but what I want to do now is show you how to actually create a new object. Then we're going to take that object and embed it into a course, hopefully. Keep fingers crossed. So to do that, you click the Add New button, or you can do it from the top as Alex showed you. But again, you notice there are 43 different types of content types in an H5P. Anything from, like Alex was saying, accordions, collage. Doug is going to be showing you some examples of, I think there's a video in there, there's a 360 image rotation kind of a thing. There's all kinds of things. But just to keep things simple, I'm going to show you how to create an accordion example on this. And I apologize in advance. There are so many things that we could dive into just with one example of creation of a H5P content type. But just bear with me. I'm just going to kind of run through this and hold off on your questions for later on, or you can always email idt@regis.edu for additional information. So for this particular one, the title, the first title line, notice there's two different titles. The first title line is what the object is going to be called. I'm just going to say ELCC H5P example, something like that. And then under the content, the title is for each object. If you know, for an accordion, you have a header, a line that you click, and then it drops down to the explanation of what that word or phrase is. So let's just say Abraham Lincoln, and he is a great press. Okay, so for the next term, okay, you guys are talking about food. Let's say pizza. My favorite food. Last one. Let's see, ELCC. The best place for all things ed techie. All right, so let's just start with that. So over here, we're going to go over to here and say we're going to create this object, and then it's going to come up with a preview screen that you can then, if it's correct, you can either, if it's not correct, you can edit. If it is correct, you can grab the embed code and put it into a page. So this is the preview. click these and it will drop down to what the explanation is. So now we want to grab this embed code and put it into a page. And unfortunately, probably for most of you, you're not using D2L. For those of you that are using D2L, this will make more sense. Let me see where my... So I've already created a module for this page. So I'm going to now create a file. This will be an ELCC H5P example. This is what an object looks like. And then if you recall, I've already grabbed my code, so I'm going to go into the HTML editor, go down to here, insert the code, and let's see what we get. Okay, this is now on the page. I'm going to click Save and Close. And this is our object. It's amazingly simple, everyone. And this is, the accordions are not that difficult, but using the JavaScript, it's so simple. It takes out the coding that you have to do and makes everything very, very simple. And regardless of the object that you create, obviously the more complicated objects are going to take more time, but the process that the H5P .org uses, it makes it so very, very simple. So now I'm going to get back into a
I do have a couple of things to say as far as that's concerned as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yes, an array of different objects we're capable of building. And there's also, you don't have to go into the code. Most LMSs, you can just insert your embed link through the menus. So in case some people are scared off by going into the HTML code, you won't necessarily have to do that either. But this has replaced, it gives a way to build a ton of different interactive objects very quickly. It replaces Flash and JavaScript and jQuery in many regards. And that final style that you saw there, there are different plugins for the H5P that you can manipulate the style, the CSS for each of the objects as well. And some of the watermarks that you see there, if you do have it installed on one of the servers like Drupal or WordPress, you can choose whether or not those watermarks are visible or not.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, so this, you just saw an example of how to create an object. Now let's take a look for the rest of the amount of time that we have. Let's take a look at objects that have been created, both and are being either actively used in courses or that were created just to see what the object was, how easy it was to design, and whatever. But I'm going to hand it off to Ling Thompson to show us what she's been doing, the objects she's been creating for some active courses that she's worked. Ling.
Hey, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm happy to show you some examples. And one course, we have about 3 examples to see what H5P learning object looks like. Before I do that, I'll just address the question from the chat. As of now, only our department, staff in our departments doing H5P development. I think that's phase 1. When everybody's getting comfortable with the tool, I imagine phase 2 will open it up to adjunct faculty as well, for faculty to give them access so they can create their simple H5P objects. I think that's a plan. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm here. Where did it go? Alrighty, Jeff already mentioned the accordion. This is what a accordion application in a course. It's week 1, so the faculty only wants students to get a little bit review of some terms that are important in this course. Okay. So original plan is actually we wanted to do a simple knowledge check for this component. Our original thought was maybe it's a matching exercise, or I don't know. I think matching is available in H5P, so that's the first object we did. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out, the look and feel wise didn't turn out that well, because as you see, the definition is pretty long, and in H5P, you don't have much flexibility to control the item. It is what it is, so it looks very clunky. So we did, this is probably the second or third version we did. So this layout will meet the class needs better. So that's, we went with that. Another example is iceberg picture. Now, iceberg concept is widely used in different disciplines. So in this course, we just want them to see different levels of organization. Simple hotspot and a pop-up comes up. You don't have to know any coding or anything. Just find a picture and identify the hotspots. That's it. So what I can do, just go to the back end to show what it looks like. Go to the edit button. Oh, that's it. Yeah. So first of all, I need to find a picture. Okay. Now my internet is a little lagging. And all I need to do is identify the icons I want, the color of it, where I want to put it. The first one, I want to put it here. And what the pop-up content is going to be, okay? And then move on to the second one where I want to put it on this image. If I click on that, what the action is going to happen. In this case, it's a simple text, okay? So this is the second example. Another example I have is in this week, faculty want students to pick one out of the 3 scenarios to respond to, okay? So instead of listing all of them vertically, in this example, students can scroll next, and pick the scenario they want to work on and discuss that in the discussion board. It looks very clean, and we didn't even add any images to it, just some simple, colorful background. Let me see. Again, the back end, it looks like this. We're treating this as slides. You can add as many slides as you want. For each slide, you can edit the page, okay? Trying to think, where did the text go? And Doug helped me with that, this piece. Doug, do you have anything to say about this one? Wait, text editing is from this page. Looks like you have opportunities to add images and links and audios, and we just stuck to the very basic implication.
One of the limitations that we ran into when we were building this is, you can't really size it that much. So something like this is not good with a small amount of data. You want to try to fill it out. So it makes a little more sense to use a tool like this. But it's really slick, and once you play with it a little bit, they're pretty easy to put together.
Good. Because easy and quick turnaround time is what we're looking for, right?
And again, what I was mentioning before is the complexity of the object is based on the type of object that you select. You saw how easy it was to set up an accordion. What Ling has done here is much more complicated, but it's a very logical approach to how they do it. So it's laid out well.
Yeah, no matter how long this thing is, just keep adding panels. It's very text-based. The other one, just want to show you our website. We have the Meet the Team page, and we created that using H5P as well. So simple hotspots, the description for each person. I think that's a nice use of the tool. To the back end. Now my internet is unstable. We just need to find a background image. I believe that's the same one I used, for the iceberg picture. Yeah. Pick the hotspot and add text. That's it. So these are really some simple examples I have used in courses, and just to show you how easy it is to use. That's all I have to share. Jeff, back to you. Or Doug, do you have any other examples?
Yeah, thanks, Ling.
No,
Yeah,
I'll show a few.
I know that we only have about a little less than 10 minutes to go, and I did want to weight this toward examples. So Doug, if you wouldn't mind showing examples of some of the things that aren't necessarily in active courses, but are ones that we developed just to kind of see what we have here.
Certainly. We created a page in our LMS called IDT Media Resources. This is sort of like our warehouse showroom. You can buy a car off the internet and you know what the car is going to be basically, but not until you get it, all the details. It's kind of the same with describing these to faculty. It's like, this would be a cool thing for you to have in your class that behaves this way. Okay, this way we can bring them in here and we can actually show them what we're talking about with some examples that we've created. This is a physical therapy video that has interactivity in it. And so don't worry about the audio on this one. I'm just basically going to run through this very quickly. Sort of explains, and the next slide should flip over here in a second.
Yeah, this one incorporates self-checks at the very end of the video. It's real short. It's about 40 seconds.
And then we can go into some questions to help diagnose what the physical therapy student would have been watching. Oops. And go to the next one. And that's wrong. So if I want to, I can refresh it, or I can just show what the solution is. Continue on to the third question. And as you can see, much to my parents' dismay, I'm never qualified to be a doctor. All right, and so then it gives a summary at the end. Okay, and so that's incorporating text and video and a quizzing element. And give a sec here. Okay, so this is a matching game. This one's a lot of fun. If you ever played as a kid, played the game Husker Du, which just means do you remember in Swedish. You get a bunch of similar looking cards. You can add your own picture, as Jeff did with this one, and you just pick a picture and look for another one. This is great for like elementary, or one of the things we tried with it would be a picture of, you know, like an animal and then a definition of what that animal is that could be used for study. Not getting any matches here whatsoever, but basically you get the idea. And matching game, maybe more on the K-12 element, or K-12 as opposed to higher ed, but let's see what you could do with that. Okay, and we looked at an accordion already, so I'll skip that one. This was the virtual tour, and another example of hotspots and people. This is Greg Wells. He's at CSU now, former Regis employee. This actually has
from a like a 2015
ELCC
Breckenridge conference.
Yeah, I think we don't know who that guy is. This guy we know, Carl Kinney. And you can play music in the background. This one actually has a crowd noise in the background. And then we have another 360 virtual tour. Let's see if this approach moves us quicker. Okay, so this is the front office in Regis, or in our office at Regis, the IDT office. And you can put all kinds of different text and explanations for different items. Imagine this, for example, like an ICU unit where you can identify the equipment that might be in an IC unit.
And Doug, you can grab the image with your mouse and it'll rotate as well.
Okay, sorry, I moved on to the other one. So the instructions on this one, click all the machines that bleep or blip. This probably makes some noise. Yes, it does. This is just a storage rack on the wall. No, that would not. And this monitor here. Again, you know, kind of an identifier that could be like a spot quiz for a variety of different technical programs. The example that Ling showed in the accordion, we actually tried that as a drag and drop as well. But again, the long explanations made for matching and filling in the blanks is a little bit awkward. With this, you just drag across, drop it in. Oops, missed the hotspot twice. Great vocabulary test. Okay, and then we'll check it. And
no pressure, Doug, no pressure.
None whatsoever. Got my degree from a Cracker Jack box. That's all I need. And if the student wants to, they can reset the whole thing and retry it. Again, some different settings that you can play with as you're creating it. Okay, just straightforward quizzing questions. And shows that we got that one correct. You can add fields to this. You're not limited to 2 or 3, so you can ask, you know, a question and then put a variety of possible answers in for the students to select from. And I don't know, this might politically offend somebody. I don't know who created this one, but let's say, and the intention is not to politically offend, but to simply say, you know, this is an example of where you can just add a fill in the blank and then run a check on it, and that is what we get. Again, a lot of good opportunities for knowledge checks in here that an instructor could use such that the student would be able to, you know, check themselves on content without having to go into the you know, efforts of setting up a quiz or something that you might feel that you might need to change the answers on down the road. Nice pie chart format here, you know, as you enter your data and then set your specs, and you get a good good output from that. And Jeff, I'm at about the time I should stop. You want me to hand this back to you at this point?
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
All right.
What I'd like to do is we have about 5 minutes left. Nicole was saying that we don't have a session after this, so we can extend it a little bit, but I also want to be cognizant of time and everybody. So we are going to officially finish at 3:50, but let me get into, there are a ton of questions, people. I see them, and I'm so sorry that we won't be able to get to all of them. But let me get to the last screen share. That if you have questions, idt@regis.edu, we would be more than happy. This is our general support site for the department, that everything is channeled into this email address, and then we almost immediately will respond back in one way, shape, or form. So if your question didn't get answered today, please feel free to reach out to idt@regis.edu, and we'll do our best to get back with you. But for right now, the last part of the session is how to get started. If this is something that you're really interested in at your own institutions, you know, what are some of the things that we would suggest that you do? First of all, I think it's already been mentioned that, you know, log into, get an account at h5p.org, not the .com, because that's the paid version, .org, and then play around. Get some examples, see what you did. Feel free to reach out to us at ID and IDT, that we'd be happy to give you some suggestions as far as what to do. But really, it's a matter of, for us, I think one of the next steps we're going to be doing, and Alex, Doug, Ling, please correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons that we wanted to adopt H5P is to hand off a lot of these development objects to the faculty. You saw the interface, you saw how easy it is to do. Unless they're Luddites, this is something that faculty should be able to put in their arsenal for their own online courses. And that's one of the things that we're hoping to do, sort of one of the next steps we have, if we can stop having disasters after disasters. Regis was affected. We had a major hack attack in August, and now the COVID thing is really, it's made our resources go other places rather than things like continued development of H5P. But as far as for next steps, if you are interested, get an account, take a look, play around with some of these objects, and see if it's something that you want to invest in with your institution, both time and money. Alex, Ling, Doug, any suggestions for the attendees here as far as how they might want to proceed?
Get in and play with it. Once you get access to it, it's fun. It gets the creative juices flowing. You don't have to be technical. There's a lot of different settings you can play with and try to customize a feature so that it does, or an object, so that it does what you want it to do. But it's actually fun development.
I see lots of questions there about accessibility. I wonder if any one of you would like to address that.
I can address it. I'm actually the chair of the Accessibility Council here at Regis, and accessibility is one of Regis's, we strive for it to, we really do strive, make a big charge to make as much of our content as accessible as we can make it. And H5P does a pretty good job. If you I'll put a plugin for the Wave plugin for the Chrome browser. If you do a search on Wave plugin for Chrome browser, it is a plugin that will check the accessibility of any of your pages. And what I like to do is create an object, put it into the world-class environment, and then run the plugin just to see what comes up. And almost always, for most of the objects that we're creating, particularly the fill in the blanks and the accordion widgets, they're very accessible and nothing comes up. There's no red flags. The image hotspots are a little bit different because you do have to describe what the image is, and it can be a little bit trickier, but there's nothing that's, there's no extreme red errors that the thing will not function or that someone will not be able to tab through any of those interactions. And those are our biggest concerns.
Thanks, Alex. Let me just very quick, oh, by the way, it is past 3:50. I've got 3:51. If you need to leave, please do. Thank you for attending. For those of you that want to stick around, I'm just going to scroll down through the chat comments, questions, and I'll answer as many.
Real quick?
Yes, go ahead, Nicole.
Just folks, I just want to remind everybody that there's a feedback form. I posted the link in the chat, or you can find it in the schedule and you can do it later, but we ask if you don't mind to take a minute and provide some feedback for our presenters today. Go ahead, thanks.
Thank you. All right, the most important question I see here is from Nancy. She wants cookies. All right, cookies will be virtual cookie to everybody. Does Jane is asking, does H5P work with Desire to Learn? Yes, it does, along with Blackboard, Canvas, and Moodle, I believe. Let's see.
You can insert H5P content anywhere, though. Anywhere that accepts an iframe, you can put H5P content. So literally anywhere. But the integrations, the actual LTI integrations for inserting stuff and building H5P objects directly inside of your learning management system, there's only really just a handful of those. And that's Blackboard, Desire to Learn, Canvas, and Moodle. But those are super solid. So everything that you saw us do inside of WordPress, you will be able to do inside of an iframe with your LTI integration into those environments.
Thanks, Alex. Stacy says a hot pizza sounds awesome right now. You got that right. There are some very specific questions. I noticed there's several addressed to Alex. If you would, just for the sake of time, I'm going to answer some of the more general ones, but again, the email address is idt@regis and just .edu, and just let us know, and we can answer the more specific questions there. Thanks for all the additional information in these chats. It looks like you're answering all of your own questions here. That's good. Here's one I don't know. Can you put a link, a hot link within an accordion question?
Yes.
I have no idea.
Yes, you can.
You can.
Yeah. You can do links. I don't know if folks have left yet, but I don't think you can insert a math equation. I haven't tried it, but I doubt it.
I did see the question about math type, and it's possible, but you have to have it installed on your WordPress site. And we don't have it installed. But that's a great question, and that would be something I would would want to get working for Regis as well.
Here's a question about .com versus .org H5P. Do you need to have an account on H5P.com in order to integrate Create, or can you do some of the same things for H5P.org? You can set up an account on H5P.org, the freebie, but I don't believe you can grab the embed code or the link and embed it into a course. I think that they kind of stop things there. You can try it before you buy it, but you need to have something there.
Yeah, the free one just allow you to have a link linked from your course to the object that's from the .com site.
Accessibility has been answered, I think. If you have any additional questions on accessibility, just do the IDT at regis.edu. What happens to the after the 30 days? That would be a question for h5p.org, but I believe what happens, you don't save anything, I don't believe. And you also have a watermark. And of course, when, as Alex was mentioning about the watermark, when you get the paid version, you can select to have that go away.
Jeff, there's a question from Stacy. She's referring to the drag and drop, where she asks, can you put the column on the left side for dragging and the vocabulary on the right? If you remember, I had to drag across the field. Yeah, unfortunately, based on what I've seen, the nature of the final product seems to be predetermined, and that there's not a lot of changing you can do for this kind of thing.
So these are kind of canned. These presentations are, here's a bag of tricks that you can quickly build. Now, to really change the look and the feel and some of those behaviors where you're talking about positioning and whatnot, and I think some of the people are questioning about that, there are additional H5P plugins that aren't necessarily made by H5P, but by the developers at large. The litany of WordPress developers out there that give the ability, and we actually have one installed on our site as well, which is an H5P CSS editor. But it isn't necessarily simple to use, and it's not, whereas everything else is open it up, fill in the blanks, and push publish. This one really is diving into the CSS, and you would need it to have some development background to be able to manipulate it, but it is possible.
Well, with that, I am going to end the session and hand this back to Nicole. Everyone, I thank you so very much. I know this is a tough time, and I'm so appreciative to ELCC and to Kay and everybody else that made this virtual version of the conference happen. So take care, be healthy, and Nicole, back to you.
I just want to thank everybody for attending, and thank you, Alex, Jeff, Ling, and Doug for your presentation. It was fabulous, and this is being recorded, so we'll be able to share it back at the ELCC website afterwards.
Thanks, Nicole, and thanks everyone for coming.
Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.